Today we're celebrating and announcing an historic investment by CMA CGM estimated at $200 to $300 million to modernize and expand the port facilities at Howland Hook in Staten Island. This action solidifies the preeminence of this port we all know well. It ensures its longevity and will create hundreds of good-paying union jobs on Staten Island. It also establishes, and this is my declaration, but I'm going to say it anyhow, this is the preeminent leading Atlantic Coast port, outperforming the West Coast ports any day. So as this port changes hands, the lease changes hands, it creates a new opportunity for us to really just reimagine the possibilities. Instead of keeping the status quo, why don't we think about what we can do next? And for the first time under my direction with the Port Authority and working closely with Governor Phil Murphy, the Port Authority, and Rick Cotton, I thank you, has been extremely engaged to ensure that the outcomes of this deal would not just guarantee Howland Hook's long-term viability, but also adapt to the needs of today, how we can take this opportunity and do something differently. In my opinion, every company, no matter what industry, has the ability to help drive societal change through its actions. That's why, for example, this plan, this opportunity will have a 30% MWB goal, participation, MWBs in these projects, 30%. That's what we're striving for, that's what we asked for, and the answer was yes. That's why we also fought for a commitment to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Again, asking this company and this opportunity to engage with us in protecting our planet. So I want to acknowledge the people who had the vision to drive these changes and to work closely together and make this new chapter a reality. And again, I get back to Rick Cotton, extraordinary leader of the New York Port Authority, New Jersey Port Authority, whatever. We're in New York right now, right? I can say what I want. Rick, thank you. Thank you for seeing the opportunity here. Thank you for bringing it home. And again, this just goes in that long list of Rick Cotton accomplishments that we're so proud of. Let's give him a round of applause, Rick Cotton. Peter Levesque, President and CEO of CMA CGM Americas. We agree on a lot of things except our football teams, but that's another topic. But thank you for having the vision, helping stabilize this important asset, something we're really proud of in New York, something I, as governor, take very seriously what you're doing here. I don't take it for granted, so I say thank you. Let's give Peter a round of applause as well. Vito Fossella, it's always good to have a borough president on your side as well, and I want to thank him for his work to help us create more jobs on Staten Island and all the work we're going to continue doing together. And also our Senator Jessica Scarcella-Spanton. I was just out in Staten Island with you not long ago, and thank you both for really bringing home the issues that are important to us and all of us as a state, but making sure that we deliver for Staten Island, which is really important to me. All the union members of the International Longshoremen's Association, I'm really proud to work with them. I had uncles who were Irish longshoremen up in Buffalo, so I know how hard the work is, but how gratifying it is as well. I know we have Mike Cusick here, the President and CEO of the Staten Island EDC. I want to thank Mike for his service to our state and to Staten Island. And I remember being a brand new lieutenant governor, and he made sure I knew every corner and all the issues of Staten Island. And we said this will never be the forgotten borough, not while I'm governor or even lieutenant governor at the time. So, Mike, thank you for your service as well. And there's Linda here, too. Linda Barron, I want to thank her for being the President and CEO of the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce. We've done a lot of good announcements together. A lot of good things happening, DRI and other projects that we're real proud of. So thank you, Linda, for your stewardship. And all of the members of the Staten Island community who helped make this happen, because we always have known since the very beginning that New York's position as a significant harbor is why it's an economic engine. Each new investment in the harbor really does help propel the city forward. And Staten Island has long been that place that welcomed our ships from the rest of the world. And the channels that run between Staten Island, New Jersey, and Brooklyn were once called the fingers of the world by critic and New York native Alfred Kazin. He said it's the gateway to the rest of the world through which most of the commerce flows. And you know what? We want to keep it that way. I don't want to just talk about the past and talk about the history. We know the glorious history, but don't always assume that'll be the future. That's why this decision, and this agreement we're announcing here today cements that future. And we want to make sure that this harbor remains full of ships and cargo flowing from our warehouses and out to America. And I hail from a place at the other end of the Erie Canal, but the Erie Canal started in 1820 by a visionary, sometimes called crazy governor, DeWitt Clinton. In fact, Thomas Jefferson was so appalled with the audacity of his idea, he said, we're not giving you any federal money. I won't comment on that today. But he said, we got to lock that guy up. He's so crazy to think that you can dig a ditch and connect this little village of New York City to the Great Lakes, but yet it was accomplished. And when that happened, New York City just sailed ahead of all the other communities, all the other ports that thought they had a chance. Nothing could compete with New York City once that occurred. And it was the busiest port of all these coast ports combined. And so that's where we are today. And so when Peter and his team acquired Global Containers U.S. assets, including the operations at Howland Hook, you came to us, to the Port Authority for approval. We welcome this. We welcome this opportunity. And again, thank you for making these significant investments. We don't get investments of $200 to $300 million every day of the week. And that'll help boost their capacity by 50% over the next 7 years. And when you think about all the jobs created, I mentioned 300 union jobs, 80 permanent jobs on site, as well as hiring locally. That's really important to us. We also think, we all talked about supply chains during the pandemic, and what a world that was, and we waited for the container ships to come from across the world, bringing sometimes life-saving supplies and masks and garments and all the PPE we needed, as well as everybody realized you could buy whatever you wanted online because they weren't able to go into the stores at a time when there were shutdowns and a lot of fear. And that really shifted very rapidly to this online world where people are ordering supplies and literally everything from across the world. Well, they don't get it. They're not dropped here. You don't buy a sofa from across the planet and have it dropped by a drone. It comes on a ship. It comes on a ship. So we really put tremendous pressure on our ports during that time. And you all remember the images on the West Coast of container ships just sitting there, gridlocked in the water, a sight we had never seen before. It was staggering. And knowing that automobiles were not being manufactured, other jobs were being affected throughout our economy because the ships couldn't handle, or the ports could not handle the capacity. And so I look at this opportunity as to make sure that we are positioned to be able to handle such circumstances in the future, and also to create those good-paying jobs to support and lift up Staten Island families. It's really important to me. So we also know we can welcome some really big ships here. A couple years ago, I was out there with the Sandy Hook pilots, and believe it or not, they actually let me steer a little while. I love to boat, by the way. I could not wait to go out there, and I saw the largest container ship to enter New York Harbor at the time, the Marco Polo. I mean, I was aghast at the length of this. I don't know how many football fields it is, but it was amazing. It was so impressive. It's like the Empire State Building on its side. That's how big it was. And so we think about those opportunities. I think they're great. I want to do more. I want to go big. And this company, by continuing to commit to build capacity all the way through the year 2042, why are we stopping there, Peter? Keep going, keep going. Based on milestones negotiated with the Port Authority, I think we're going to see a lot more ships come here. And they know they can get through with ease, and they have the best and the brightest people working to make it happen with ease as well. So this helps our entire region. It helps our nation, helps our national security, and helps our ports really continue to be great contributors to our economy. So we'll no longer have the situations we saw in the past. We're positioned to embrace the future. And again, I want to just make sure that everyone knows how important this is to me personally. I love the water, I love ports, I love harbors, and I love creating jobs, especially for all of our friends and constituents on Staten Island. So with that, I want to welcome and thank again Peter Levesque, the President and CEO of CMA CGM Americas. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of CMA's Chairman Rudolph Sade and the more than 150,000 men and women that make up the CMA CGM group around the world, I want to thank you, Governor, for your kind words and for your invitation to be here today. This investment would not have been possible without the support of you, Governor, and your staff And we want to just take the time today to say thank you very much for all the work that you've done in supporting this effort over the last several months. I also want to thank Kevin O'Toole, Rick Cotton, Derek Utter, Beth Ann Rooney, and all the people of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey for their, thank you, for their professionalism and their sense of purpose in getting this deal across the finish line. It was a long, hot summer for many reasons, but we got it done. Also, special thanks to John Atkins, the CEO of Global Container Terminals, and to our Executive Vice President, Christine Gabot, for their expertise and incredible leadership throughout this long negotiation process. The purchase of GCT highlights our group's commitment to the American consumer and to building a stronger and more resilient supply chain for importers and exporters across the United States. In addition to Staten Island, this is a comprehensive deal that also includes GCT and Bayonne. And together, we believe that these two terminals represent the future of trade and economic growth in this region. We look forward to working with all of you in the months and years ahead as we unlock the full potential of GCT at Staten Island and at Bayonne, creating hundreds of new jobs, doubling port capacity, and building a greener and more sustainable operating environment for everyone. Our chairman's vision, I'm going to use the word preeminent again, our chairman's vision is to make GCT the preeminent gateway to America's supply chain and to the American consumer. And with the support of you, Governor, and with the support of everybody in this room, that is exactly what we intend to do. So with that, I'd like to take this time and thank again Rick Cotton and our Executive Director of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Rick, it's my job to introduce you. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Hochul. Thank you, Peter. Governor, your support has been instrumental to bringing this deal across the finish line. It will expand and improve Howland Hook, and support from the top in accomplishing major infrastructure projects and expansions of major infrastructure projects are instrumental. And we are grateful not only for your support for this particular deal, but for your support across the board in terms of our major infrastructure program. So thank you. We're also grateful to Peter and his colleagues for the way they have worked with us to bring this transaction about. We're grateful to Staten Island Borough President Vito Fasella, who understood what we were trying to accomplish and who was supportive of all of our efforts. And I also want to recognize and thank State Senator Jessica Scarpella Spence for her support. I also do need to thank, as Peter did, the staff at the Port Authority, Derek Utter, Chief Development Officer, Beth Rooney, Director of the Port Department, Libby McCarthy, our Chief Financial Officer, and Amy Fisher, our General Counsel. This deal would not have happened without their efforts. And also in the audience, I want to thank Mike Cusick, President and CEO of the Staten Island Economic Development Corporation, and Linda Buran, President and CEO of the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce. The Port Authority is grateful to all of you for your support. It is a major development for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey to have CMA, CGM join us as the new operator of Howland Hook. The company is a global leader in the maritime industry. Headquartered in France, CMA CGM is the world's third largest ocean carrier with a fleet of nearly 600 ships and with more than 50 ports in 28 nations. CMA GMA is the 8th largest container terminal operator in the world. So to Peter and to his colleagues, to John Atkins, I want to say a very vigorous and warm welcome to the Port Authority. It's hard to imagine a better partner, better suited to the position of our port for the 21st century and for the continued growth in the cargo industry on Staten Island. We are delighted that CMA CGM will be working with us as one of our major marine terminal operators. The Port of New York and New Jersey has long been the busiest on the East Coast. But at times over the past year, and as recently as July, our port took first place and became the busiest port in the nation. We aspire to even more growth, and with CMA CGM, we believe that is likely. Even during the pandemic, when the world's supply chain was most challenged and ships were anchored at sea waiting for long periods at other ports, the Port of New York and New Jersey operated smoothly thanks to our prior investments. And in this regard, I want to make a special comment on the ILA. The ILA deserves special thanks for their tireless efforts during the pandemic to keep the cargo flowing. And the ILA will be a critical partner going forward, and I thank them for their work. And make no mistake, the new lease arrangements that we have negotiated with CMA will be an inflection point, a departure from arrangements that have become outdated. We're not going to rest on our laurels. We're going to continue to invest in the future and work with our private partners to become even bigger and better with business relationships like the one the governor has just discussed. This new lease arrangement with CMA CGM sets a new strategic framework for our ports going forward, with a dramatically different deal structure that will set a new and expanded framework for future agreements on both sides of the river. This agreement will establish both more balanced financial arrangements and a broader partnership that will encompass sustainability and require local and equitable business arrangements. So thank you again to Governor Hochul and all involved in completing this important lease agreement. It will strengthen our port operations for decades to come. Now, with warm thanks for his support, I want to bring to the podium Staten Island President, Borough President Vito Fossella.
Thank you very much, Rick, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank Peter, and echo what Rick said, because we would not be here but for the efforts, the support, guidance, and leadership of Governor Kathy Hochul. So, Governor, thank you very much. And I notice on the sign here it says investing in Staten Island, and yes, it is. It's investing in Staten Island. But I think it's more than that. I think it's investing in New York, and it's investing in this country, because for the last 300 plus years, we know that the Narrows, those underneath the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, has been the gateway to America. And it is where the seeds of this country were planted, and what has made this country the greatest in the world, in large part because of the trade, the economic development that has come from that. And to credit those who made it happen, because we believe with this investment that trade and economic development will continue to grow. So, Rick, I want to thank you personally for really steering this ship, no pun intended. So I'll just talk briefly on a personal and professional level. First, on a professional level, we know that the importance of this terminal, jobs that it's created, the ILA and the union paying jobs is essential, and we're here to support them as much as we can. We sometimes take for granted where goods and things come from, right? They come from other countries, they come from other states, but they often end up right through the Narrows and end up in Howland Hook and other ports in Jersey and elsewhere. Many years ago, I was privileged to serve in Congress. There was a good chance that Howland Hook would call it instead of the little engine that could, the little ship that could, because it's had its ups and downs over the years. And there was a time when, as the governor mentioned, when the big container ships would not have been able to go to Howland Hook. And we were successful in Congress to get that channel dredged, frankly, to allow the larger ships to arrive and be berthed at Howland Hook. And there's a good chance, had that not happened, we would not be here today. On a personal level, you know, my great-grandfather actually served in Congress when was chair of the Maritime Committee because of the importance. That was almost 100 years ago. And if he's looking down on us, I hope he says we did a good job by keeping that dream alive. My uncle was a Sandy Hook pilot and helped guide those ships in. And my father-in-law, Tom Rowan, actually worked for U.S. Lines more than 70 years ago. And I learned at an early age how important the maritime industry is, not just to Staten Island, but this entire region, as I mentioned. So we're grateful for this investment. We're grateful for the future. And, you know, dare I say that our best days are yet to come. And if we all work together, you know, we're joined by State Senator Scarcella Spanton, Michael Cusick, a dear friend, and Linda Barron. If we all work together, anything is possible, anything is achievable. And New York is known as the Empire State for good reason, because people from all over the world still want to come here and still want to seek the American dream. So let's keep that in mind. But for today, I just want to say thank you to all of you who made this happen. Appreciate it.